we have the head of corporate trust services of Meristem Trustees here, Vivian Bogu. It is great to have you. You are welcome. You're welcome. You know, growing up here, I used to, there's this particular brand which I will not mention, and then we always used to pass by there, and then I will always see trustees. I used to come in contact with that word a lot growing up. I never asked what it meant, but then growing up, I got to understand. But then I know a number of people, when it comes to financial services, maybe they just know the basic. Okay, just go to the bank, put in my money, take out my money, and that is okay for me. Just save and all of that. But there is much more. There's investment. There's planning for life. There's planning after life. And that is where trustees come in. Yes. So tell us, what is Meristem Trustees all about?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mike. Meristem Trustees Limited is a subsidiary of Meristem Securities Limited. Okay. And we are licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission to provide trust services. In line with our license, we have and hold a fiduciary duty to all of our clients. So in situations where you have multiple parties interested in a certain class of assets and you're looking for a third-party independent professional to oversee the assets and look out for the interest of the beneficiaries, that is where Meristem Trustees comes in. You
know, that concept of third party is a concept that as Africans we have not really embraced. Yeah. If you go to the modern world and first world countries and all of that, this has, you know, the system is there. In fact, there are some things that you cannot do even with government or whatever, until you have this third party involved. But over here, somebody says that our third party insurance is with the blood of Jesus. And all of that. So you see, people don't understand that concept of how important is it for us as Africans, as Nigerians, to embrace that concept that you mentioned of third party involvement in our finances and things that we do.
It's already in our nature as Nigerians to have trust issues. In a situation where you have trust issues, why not engage a third-party professional that you know is not really interested in the assets or looking out for the interest of any of the parties separately? They are an independent party. They are looking out for all parties in line with whatever structure that has been put in place. And you're ensuring that the assets that you've moved into their custody or into their hands is adequately taken care of for the interest of the beneficiaries or whoever it is that is interested in such assets. All
right, so what kind of assets are we talking about as a businessman, maybe an entrepreneur, even as an employee and all of that? How do I involve third party like Meristem Trustees to work with me?
Thank you, Mike. So different classes of assets can be moved into the trust under the custody of the trustee. So you have classes of assets like real estate, you have classes of assets like cash, investments, equities, everything you hold there and you do not want to get into the wrong hands can be moved into the trustee to manage and administer on behalf of all parties involved.
Well, so what is that? Is there any surety, like how am I sure that if I put this thing with Meristem Trustees, is it going to still be there? Like, can something happen? We've seen banks that, liquidated or something. What if something happens to Meristem and there's no Meristem? What happens to my assets?
So remember during the initial point when we started this conversation, I had mentioned that we are licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. We have our regulators and we do not do things that would make our regulators come for us or come for our license. So we ensure that whatever it is that we've committed to is what we end up executing. And should in case, God forbid, which is very unlikely for Meristem to go under, there's usually a provision in whatever trust documents we have that provides for an additional trustee or a successor trustee. So you as the client, to continue from where Meristem Trustee stops. And if that is not the case, the Securities and Exchange Commission, being our regulators, would come in and engage another trustee to continue from where we stopped.
All right, now you have a number of offerings. You know, there's a special needs trust, there's education trust, living trust, simple will, comprehensive will, corporate trust. Let's talk education. You know, that's something that I would love to. How does that work?
Okay, so like the name implies, the education trust is targeted at parents who have children who are still in school or getting ready to go into school and all of that. Not limited to parents. We also have it targeted at grandparents who are looking to look out for their grandchildren. We have institutions who maybe had some sort of eventuality and they had an employee who was within the organization and probably died and they want to, continue from wherever it is the person stopped. They take charge of the person's children's education. So education starting from when the children are toddlers to when they are from primary school, secondary school, university. It caters to everything that the parents, what their objectives are. They want to ensure that they reach, they obtain certain degrees, they obtain first degree, master's degree, PhD level, whatever it is that the vision is of the parents for the child comes to play. So it caters to the tuition, caters to books, sometimes caters to their upkeep as well. So it ensures that whatever objective,
on the package that they signed up for.
Exactly, that's correct. So whatever it is that the parent has in mind for the child is properly executed by the trustee. So certain classes of assets are moved into the trust for the trustee to administer on behalf of such child. And whatever balances are left in the trust when the child maybe obtains first degree or master's degree goes back either to the child or to their parents.
All right, I want to, the living trust, I understand quite a lot, but that's the one I also want to talk about. What's the concept of the living trust about?
So the living trust is an estate planning tool, and it's one of the most popular ones where you pull certain asset classes into the custody of the trustee. It takes effect during your lifetime.
During your lifetime.
I know the most common estate planning tool that people in this part of the world are aware of but still shy away from is the will. But the living trust, like the name implies, takes effect during your lifetime. So you're the person setting up the trust. You're saying, oh, I want to pull all of my assets into this trust arrangement, which is a legal arrangement, and you're saying, trustee, Meristem Trustees, I want you to take over these assets, control these assets, administer these assets for myself and for my designated beneficiaries. So it's more or less like you actively ensuring that third parties do not lay claim to these assets. It's also you trying to ensure that these assets do not go through probate. Should in case anything happen to you tomorrow, you want the assets to transition from your generation, whether first generation, second generation, or third generation, so nothing goes amiss at the end of the day regarding your estate.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then, of course, like you mentioned, you said the one people don't want to is the will. Now, there's a simple will, and then there's a comprehensive will. Let's go over that also.
Okay, so the comprehensive will is you putting pen to paper. You own certain asset classes and you're saying, should anything happen to me tomorrow, I want this assets to go to this child, I want this assets to go to my parents, I want it to go to my siblings. But it's easy because you're putting pen to paper, but there's something known as estate tax that comes to play. So you have to, your beneficiaries and your executors would have to go through probate before they can lay access or get access to this.
Are not executors.
We can act as executors if you want us to act as, exactly.
So that's an option.
Yes.
You can not only holding the trust, you can also execute.
That's correct.
All right.
So we prepare the will. If you appoint us as the executors, should anything happen tomorrow, we continue from where we stopped in terms of where we drafted the will and registered it. So it's not about putting pen to paper and saying, I have this cash in this bank and I want it to go to this person. So you're saying, should anything happen, please go to the probate registry, ensure you obtain grants of probate, and ensure that whatever balances are left in this bank account gets to this child. So like the name entails, comprehensive will, it covers everything you own, from your real estate, your vehicles, your arts, your antiques, your iPhone, whatever it is that you owe there would come under the comprehensive will. But for the simple will, it's limited to near cash assets. So your retirement savings accounts, your cash in bank and equities.
How about, we're in the world now where e-assets has become quite a thing. I'm talking about, of course, payment wallets and all of that. And then even as much as people going as far as social media accounts.
Yeah.
You have social media accounts that are highly monetized and all of that. Does that fall under your purview?
We've embraced the concept of technology, and we are trying as much as possible to go in line with how technology is advancing. So everything you hold there, everything you monetize can go into your will. You're saying, should anything happen, this is the password, this is how I do things, this is what I get at the end of the day. So all of that will go into whatever structure you consider at the end of the day.
Wonderful, wonderful. I like that because that's where we are as a lot of people have more assets. In fact, I was talking to someone the other day, and a lot of people are saying, look, rather than invest in physical property, in physical real estate, there's now the virtual real estate. There's now the world of technology, and that's what we're going through. Now, something people after hearing all of this want to ask: when it comes to charges, do people do I pay differently to like a retainership or something, or is it a charge from whatever asset I have? How does that all work? How does somebody get to engage Meristem Trustees?
So I don't want to mention random figures, so I don't chase our potential clients.
Yes,
but
okay.
I would indicate. So we have a fee range.
Okay.
We have what is known as a sign-on fee,
okay.
which is applicable for the trust services. So you're paying a sign-on fee for the advisory, the documentation,
all right.
the structuring, and all of that.
I just wanted to know that's
on an annual basis, there's a recurring fee.
Okay.
But for
more or less like a retainership.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for the will, it's a one-off service.
All
so
right.
you're only paying a sign-on fee, which covers the drafting, the review, the registration, and all of that.
All right, let's wrap up. How do we hit you up? Social media and all of that.
So sorry to cut you short.
Okay.
So I thought to also mention about our special needs trust, which is our newest product offering within the Meristem Trustees Limited establishment. So our special needs trust, I know it's a very uncomfortable conversation when you talk about people with special needs, people with disabilities and all of that, but it is important to mention that in taking care of whilst protecting the assets you have under the trust and all of that, if you have a child, you have a parent, you have a sibling with special needs, with some sort of disability, you should also consider setting up a trust for them. You know, it's about showing love, it's about using wisdom. I know nobody wishes for anything bad to happen to them, but life is life. Life will throw lemons at you. You need to be strategic in the way you structure your assets. You need to be strategic with the way you take care of your loved ones and all of that. So I just thought to use this opportunity to also mention the Special Needs Trust, which is targeted at those with disabilities. So we have situations where parents have children with autism, parents have children with Down syndrome. They set aside a particular legal structure that caters to their needs, their upkeep. It gives them some sort of peace of mind, and you're engaging a trustee that would ensure that there is no misappropriation of funds, there's no mismanagement of funds and all of that. Should, in case anything happens to the parents tomorrow, you know that the trustee is still in the picture to cater to the needs of this disabled person and all of that. And it's important to mention that so yes, we shy away from these conversations. Yeah, you think, oh, you have family members or siblings who will take care of this person, but having a third party to hold the assets that you've secured for this person and moving it to the trustee to take care of is very, very important. So I just thought to mention that.
All right,
thank
wonderful.
you, Mike.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Mike.
Quite enlightening and educative.
Thank you very much.
I hope you're able to pick something from that now. We'll take a time out now. Don't go anywhere. There's still much to come on the show.